Three, two, one. Launch to success with Vera V.
Hello, welcome to my podcast, Launch Success. This is an episode I've been waiting a year to make because I'll be sharing 23 crucial lessons that took me a whole year to learn to help you launch to success in your life, career, and your wellness. So, I'm Vera V. I'm a full-time content creator, a social media coach, and also a self-growth lover, which is why I'm particularly excited for the podcast. And stay until the end because at the very end, I'll be sharing a practice that took me from level 0 to level 100. You'll become unrecognizable if you do this daily. All right, let's dive straight into the lesson. Before we do that, I want to do a little recap of 2023 because a whole year has passed and I feel like it feels a little bit crazy because how does time fly by so fast? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like 2022 was just yesterday, but it was a year ago, which is crazy. Absolutely insane. And it's going to be 2024. So I guess it was 2 years ago. This year for me was crazy. And I've said crazy like 2 times, but it was truly insane, mind-boggling, batshit crazy. There's just no other way of putting it. I feel like I've undergone a crazy transformation. My life looks so different than it did at the beginning of the year. And actually the funny thing is, and if you're watching this in video, by the way, I'm in my like natural cozy habitat right now. I have my Stanley Cup that I got because a brand sent it to me that I'm working with. They have their own little logo right there. My January partner, which I'm really excited for. But basically, I made a vision board at the beginning of 2023. And I look at the vision board, guess what came true? The vision board itself. And when I say the vision board itself, I mean to the dot. Everything I wanted, every goal I set came true, which is crazy to me. Like absolutely crazy. But that's the kind of year it was. So key highlights. My word for 2023 was consistency. Was I the most consistent? No. But did I start becoming very consistent towards the end of the year? Yes. So I guess it worked out in some way. Regarding key highlights, I wrote this down. If I look down, I'm looking at my notes. First is I finished a half marathon, which means running 13.1 miles because a full marathon is 26.2 miles. So a little crazy indeed. I've never run a half marathon before, obviously. I only really started running in 2023. And for me, running was just showing myself that I can because I feel like I don't really have like a runner's body. And running always seemed super challenging to me, especially long distance running. Like I truly do not think my body is created for long distance running because I feel like long distance runners have a very specific body type. Like they're super light, they're very like lean, which is not me. I'm just not built that way. My legs tend to be heavier and I'm just more jacked. Just kidding. Hopefully by that in 2024. That's one of my goals. Actually for June 2024 to become lean and strong. But that's beside the point. I'll talk about my goals here in a second as well. Second thing I did is I officially successfully launched my social media coaching business. I've been social media coaching for a while, honestly. I think maybe 1.5 to 2 years now, but truly turning it into a business in a very consistent thing that I do on a very daily, instead of working with like clients long term, one here, one there, but doing it very consistently. I only started doing this year, which has been the most exciting thing. I absolutely love it. I feel like it's my calling and also my ikigai because I feel like, okay, I'm reading a book called Ikigai and it's one of the lessons actually, one of the first ones. So we'll definitely get to that. But I feel like with social media coaching, I love coaching personally. I think I'm really great at it and it's something that I really enjoy and that I'm passionate about. But social media especially, I just love it. I grew up with social media. I've been creating for 8 years of my life and getting to coach people through it is one of the most amazing things because not only am I telling them like, oh, here's what you need to do to be successful. Obviously, yeah, I'm here for a reason, like pick my brain, but also being able to highlight a person's strengths and really lean into them when creating a successful social media presence for them together is one of the coolest things ever. And I'm just so passionate about it. And I feel like I can just do it forever. And I love social media because I feel like it's at the forefront of marketing and it's so innovative. And I just know so much about it and I just love it. Okay. Third thing is I started working with next level brands. Truly, the partnerships that I'm securing now are crazy financially, but also the kind of brands it is. Like Olaplex sent me a PR package today. Olaplex. Am I a hair care influencer? No. I think I've only posted about hair care once, but Olaplex DM'd me on Instagram like, hey girly, do you want a package? And I was like, yeah, duh. And they sent me a package. I've worked with Aloe, like Aloe Yoga. I went to their, I've worked with Meta. They invited me to a bunch of their events. I love working on Meta. I think they're so cool. Sarah V, like the craziest brands, truly next level. So my income has definitely 10x, maybe 7x, but definitely 10x this year. But also the level of brands that I'm working with, which is why I feel like, to me, it's like confirmation that this year has been truly revolutionary. And obviously, Stanley, which I'm so excited for. This is my first Stanley Cup. All right. Also joining a new gym. I've been wanting to join a new, very fancy gym for a while. By a while, I mean ever since I first came in it, which was the beginning of the year. And I actually joined it in July 2023, which has been so exciting. And that gym is expensive. It is bougie. It is pricey. But it's been on my goal because I really knew that it would elevate the quality of my life, and it has. And I'll talk more about it, but it is 200, I think, $60 a month, which is crazy for a gym. But it's one of the lessons that I'll talk about for sure. But I'm just so happy that I'm in it. I just love it. For me, it was always a big mental block of investing money into myself, because it always felt like, oh, like I can go to the $30 a month one, which there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, fitness and working out and wellness and that aspect of my life is almost sacred, because to me, fitness is a love language, right? So it's just been on my goal list forever, and I'm so happy that I finally accomplished it. Also, I got into a relationship, a loving relationship. I was truly in my dating era this year. I've met a lot of very cool people. If you listen to my Dating in Your 20s podcast, you know all about the aerospace engineers. They're great. But truly, I'm in a really happy, healthy, fulfilling relationship. It's like, I think it's the first truly serious relationship I've been in, which makes sense because, I'm young. I got plenty of time, but it's really taught me a lot, which I'll definitely talk about. And also, I formed a friend group, which is half my family. Really amazing, but I'll talk about that as well. So now let's get to the biggest lessons I learned. I divided it, in a typical Vera fashion, into 4 categories, the biggest categories of my life. First, we have career. Second, we have wellness. Third, we have relationships. And fourth, we have self-development. These are in no particular order, but I think those are all very crucial lessons. So let's get into the 23. First and foremost is that there are people with less qualifications than you that are doing the things that you want to be doing because they aren't afraid to try. One of the biggest lessons I learned is that fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. It seems like it's stretching forever, and it seems like whatever it is that you want to do is just so scary and you can never make it because it's like such a huge thing. It's such a big mental block. But truthfully, once you step into the fear, you realize that you're not going to drown, even though maybe your mind was telling you that, yes, you will. Like, there's no way you can make it. But fear is such a crazy thing. And I feel like reflecting, I missed out on a lot of opportunities this year because I was just scared. Even thinking back to my first brand event, which I started going to brand events this year, which seems crazy because it's now such an integral part of my life. And I'm like, yeah, like I go to events with Meta, which Meta is Instagram, BT dubs. It's so ingrained, but truly I started doing it this year, and I remember my first event. And obviously, I wasn't not going to go. My family would never let me do that because I was talking to my mom about this. I'm such a mommy's girl. And I was like, Mom, I don't know. I'm so scared. I'm so nervous. What if I don't know anyone? She's like, Vera, if you miss this, come on, be so for real. Will you ever forgive yourself? And I was like, no. So I went. And I was so scared. But truthfully, it was one of the coolest events ever. And that's because fear always seems a lot bigger in our heads than it actually is. And there are people doing things that you want to be doing because they simply aren't afraid to try. The person who's stopping you is you. Get out of your own way. Get out of your head. Trust me on this one, all right? Because truthfully, you are your worst critic, but also you are your worst enemy. I feel like our mind stagnates so much of our growth. It is crazy, absolutely insane. And truthfully, we're wired that way because our body, on a very biological level, it prefers the state of homeostasis, which homeostasis is when nothing changes. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. Think about, for example, speaking Spanish. If you don't practice Spanish, you're going to forget it. Why? Because your body's returning to a state of homeostasis. So same goes with the things that you want to do. If you do not continually put yourself out of your comfort zone and do the things that you've been pining after, you're not going to make any progress. And that's the thesis. All right. Second lesson is that, at least this is how I view it, but I think your work should be your ikigai, which ikigai is a Japanese term. And I'm reading a whole book. My bestie, she gave it to me for actually last New Year's, but I've only really gotten to it now a year later. But ikigai is your purpose for living. It is essentially a Venn diagram, and it's an intersection of what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. For me, truthfully, right now, that is social media coaching. Eventually, I want to obviously transition into business coaching as well. I think it's such a cool thing. I just love it. Like business, numbers, social media, progress, creativity. I love it. But when you find your ikigai, work isn't work, and you do not need to align with societal expectations of like, oh, I work 40 hours a week. I work way more than 40 hours a week. Like, truthfully, way more. There's probably not a single moment when I'm not working, unless obviously I'm investing time into my hobbies or spending time with my boyfriend or with my family or my friends, so forth and so on. But when you find your ikigai, it's your purpose for living, and it's what truly keeps you going. And that book, by the way, I'd recommend it. It's called Ikigai. It's all about longevity, which in Japanese culture, Japanese culture has a lot of super sentients, which are people who live to be above 100 years old, which I want to live to 111. So obviously I'm listening, I'm tuning in. I don't know why I want to live so long. I just think it'd be really fun. It's kind of like a little challenge for myself. But yeah, your work I think should be your ikigai, and it shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm putting bread on the table. And truthfully, I've never worked a corporate job. I graduated high school early. I began working right away. I wanted to be a singer-songwriter originally, so I worked in that. Obviously, content creation has been a thing that I've been doing ever since I was a child, so for a while. But I've never really experienced the corporate life. So for me, it's always kind of been my ikigai, but especially right now with social media coaching, I just absolutely love it. I'm so excited to see where I'll be in a year, which it connects to a lot of my goals, which I'm excited to talk about at the end, and obviously share the practice. Third is that this is more social media specific, but if you want to be a creator, if you're a creator, listen in, tune in. But your content has nothing to do with you. It's truly value over volume. I tell all my clients this. Today I had 2 sessions. Both creators are in my social media mentorship, which I can't believe. This is me launching my second social media mentorship. I just love it. I just love it. But truthfully, I feel like in order to be successful in your career, especially if your career has anything to do with being creative or with sharing, you have to be very selfless because it has nothing to do with you. Your work has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with if you're a content creator with your ideal follower, if you're an artist with your listener or with your viewer, with your admirer, but it has everything to do with that person. It has nothing to do with you. Obviously, you're sharing your best things and the best practices and the best things that you know, but I feel like your work takes a whole new spin when it becomes selfless, at least from what I've noticed in success stories of my clients. Fourth is consistency is the name of the game, especially when it comes to your career. If you want to secure a job, apply for jobs consistently. It may take 500 applications, especially in the current job market, but if you want to secure the job of your dreams, consistency is the name of the game. Truthfully. I also listened to I want to say a bunch, I mean a bunch of business podcasts this year and interviews with successful people, CEOs and this and that, and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and people who are at the forefront of the business market, if you can call it that. And truthfully, a lot of them have a mindset of the reason why I will win is because I will outlive my competitors. And I really like that. I've never really thought about it before that way. Only I think I started thinking about it that last month, maybe, which makes sense because I feel like when we're young, it's very hard to see things super long term, which is a very natural thing, by the way. So if you're kind of the same as me, let me know. Don't stress too much about it. Completely normal. But yeah, I think consistency is the name of the game. And the way that you can win is just by staying consistent in whatever it is that you do. Even with content creation, for example. Obviously, it can be very discouraging seeing people post like 2 videos and then blow up and gain an amazing community and following overnight, blah, blah. Truthfully, I don't think it happens like that. I don't think any overnight success is an overnight success, but that's beside the point. But if you post enough videos, you're going to get better content creation. And once you get better content creation, you're going to figure out the algorithm. And once you figure out the algorithm and you continue posting consistency, you will grow your community. That's simply the way it works. Even if you've never played on guitar before, but you want to become a singer-songwriter, you can. Consistency is the name of the game. Write an X number of songs, put in an X number of hours, and you'll get there. Fifth is that you hating your job is a shift of responsibility. I cannot stress this enough, truthfully. Because guess what? Guess who chose to work the job that you currently work? You. So if you go around hating and complaining of, I hate my job, I hate my boss, you made the choice, live with it. If you don't like something about your circumstances, you can always change them. And I'll go as far as saying, and this is going to sound super, I don't want to say controversial, I don't think it is. I think it's direct. That's in my Russian nature. But even for example, you're like, oh, well, I have to go to college, I have to go to school. You don't have to. You truthfully don't have to. But if you don't, you'll have to face the consequences. So you choose to go because you don't want to face those types of negative consequences. Same with your job. You don't have to work it. Sure, if you quit it, maybe you will lose everything that you have, which is really horrible. I hope you don't quit it, or I hope you find something else. But you just don't want to live with those consequences, so you continue going. So might as well change your mindset around it. Because truthfully, 100%, I think that hating anything is a mindset that you're in. You don't have to like certain things, but if you can choose different, then choose different. And if you can't choose different, then choose to love it. Mic drop. 100% mic drop. All right, let me move my chair. I don't know if you heard that. I'm in sound isolating headphones, by the way, which I love. Sixth lesson is that for career is that you get paid in money and in experience. This year, I took a lot of projects and jobs, whether that be paid partnerships, right, brand deals with brands, or working with people social media wise that didn't pay me the amount that I set out, right? But I took on those opportunities, and see how I'm taking responsibility here? Because I knew that they would pay me an experience. And truthfully, I think truthfully is one of my favorite words, but I think truthfully, sometimes your experience is much more valuable than the payment you get, at least in my experience, because the experience that you can get, it can truly take you to the next level. And while being financially compensated for things is obviously important and at the rate that you desire, if you're breaking new in a certain category, your rates might be lower or you might be making a little bit less, but that's because you're getting experience. It's kind of the same thing with internships, for example. I know interns don't get paid full-time wages, which, yeah, sucks in the moment, but truthfully, you're getting such crazy experience that can help you propel to the next level. So it totally makes sense. Now, we're moving on to the wellness category. But before we do that, I just want to say I'm so excited for my career in 2024. I think I've made such a crazy pivotal shift in 22 and 3 because I started life coaching and I still love it and I still incorporate it deeply into all of my work, even social media coaching, because I think social media goes way deeper than just like, oh, posting, algorithm, strategy. It's a lot of inner work and I obviously incorporate that a lot and my clients know that. But I started with life coaching primarily. That was like my biggest source of income. And yeah, and also money, I think, is a really cool topic that I would definitely want to make a podcast on. And I started doing that. And then I also started becoming a content creator full time in a sense where it became my full time income, which wasn't really a thing like in the previous years. It only happened this year, and obviously social media coaching now. So my career took a pivotal shift, and I'm very excited to stay consistent in this niche and just see how it can grow because having started very consistently not that long ago, I've made amazing progress and I'm so proud of myself and I'm so excited for future. Okay, so now there we have the wellness category. This is lesson 7. We'll just keep going. Lesson 7 is that you'll never have as much energy as you do now. And this is why I am so against the grandma lifestyle. It's the kind of lifestyle where you're like 24 years old, 23 years old, 22 years old, 20 years old, and you just spend your days waking up super late, laying on your couch, just watching TikToks all day long, scrolling your life away. I truly think it sucks because, and I made a TikTok video about this, and actually, let me see how much traction I got. I think I got a lot, like tens of thousands of views, but I was truly heated in the moment, so I felt like I had to share that. And a lot of people are like, well, active people are, or old people are the most active people I know, like the elderly, which, yeah, for sure. Same with my grandma and stuff. But the reason why I say that, why grandma lifestyle is a no in your youth, at least for me, is because right now you have the most energy, the most mental capabilities, the most physical capabilities that you'll ever have in your lifetime. And I feel like not to utilize that is a shame because there's going to come a time when you're 80 years old where you just won't be able to go to the gym. You just won't be able to go for a run. You won't be able to spend that much time investing into your work and building the life that you desire because your life is coming to an end because that's what happens when you're older. And I know my grandma, this point was actually inspired by my grandma heavily, and she's always been very active. She grew up in World War II. So tough times, hunger. She didn't grow up with food. It was rough. They had to walk 13 kilometers to get to school. And it was winter in obviously Russia, like a Russian village. So she'd have to pee on her feet just to keep them warm. It was really rough conditions. But the reason why I'm saying that is she's one of the smartest people I know, truthfully, but she never pursued an education. But that's a whole other story because she let her husband pursue an education instead. But now there's just so much that she wants to do and she has so much free time, obviously, because she is older, but she just has no energy. She just can't bring herself to do that. Not because she's lazy, but just because her body is older, so it doesn't have as much energy anymore. And so I always think about those people who kind of lead, like, there's nothing wrong with leading a soft life or whatever, slow mornings, slow life. But if you're being lazy and you know they're being lazy, I think there's going to come a day where you're going to regret that. And it just truthfully sucks, which is why I try to fill my schedule the best I can. Obviously, I prioritize wellness a lot and sleep, and that's very important to me nowadays. It didn't used to be. If you go to my beginning podcast episodes, it was like, why it's okay to sleep for 3 hours. Like, totally fine. You'll manage. Oh, will you manage? Yeah, probably, but it's not the healthiest thing. Right now, I'm really prioritizing wellness because, and I'll get to this point soon, but truthfully, I think an active lifestyle is the best lifestyle when you're young because you can. Now, lesson 8 is that setting fitness goals will change your life, and 100% it will. I never used to set fitness goals, and then I would always wonder, why don't I have this body, or why can't I do this? Because I didn't have a clear goal. Setting goals will change your life, period. I recommend smart goal setting. I'm actually thinking about hosting like a training on that potentially January 6th, but I didn't tell you anything. This is just for my podcast listeners. But with goals, it's a command to your brain. So if you think of yourself and your life trajectory as a ship, the goal that you set is kind of the wheel. You steer the wheel correctly, which means you set your goal correctly. You end up exactly where you want to be. You don't, well, you don't. So with fitness goals, obviously mine was to run a half marathon. I did. And that video that I made, I think it got like 4 million views, which is crazy, but a little bit viral. Another fitness goal that I have currently is for 2024 is to become leaner and stronger. I like being light, so I don't really like bulking, ginormous muscles, which obviously is a lot of work. And if you start strength training as a woman, especially, you're not going to get bulky. Trust me, that's a whole other level of work. But I want to become just stronger overall and very lean, very toned. I want you to be able to see my muscles. So that's another thing. But setting fitness goals has definitely changed my life. And in 2022, by the end of 2022 and beginning of 2023, I made a huge fitness transformation. I lost like 17 pounds. And my goal had nothing to do with losing weight. I have a whole podcast episode on this. It's about body transformation. I recommend that you listen to it. But a clear goal, a goal successfully set is halfway reached, and I stand by that. Now, 9 regarding wellness is quality nutrition always beats supplements. I know we live in a supplement culture. I love supplements currently. I have vitamins on my desk right now. Like, I love supplements. I think they're so cool. And I take a regimen of supplements that best serve me as kind of my daily ones. Always. I've done that. It works for me, serves me. But truthfully, if you're having a good quality nutrition, a good quality diet, you do not need to be taking 100 pills. I see some videos and it's people like, oh, welcome to my morning routine. And then they, instead of breakfast, they have like 20 capsules. What? Why? Why so many? I don't understand it. Like, if you eat right and you get your vitamins in, unless a doctor has prescribed something to you, you do not need to take it. Now, there's some supplements I take where I do not need them, but I take them anyway. Like, for example, if I'm feeling a little sick, I'll take vitamin C. During winter, I take vitamin D. D3K2, I think that one. It's really great for you. I take supplements for immunity, for balance, like for gut microbiome. Sometimes if I want to feel a little bit spunky, I also drink AG1, which is has 75 vitamins and minerals, which is just good for you overall. I noticed an improvement when I first started taking it, but people who take like a billion capsules without having spoken to a doctor first or a dietitian first, just kind of for funsies, it's interesting to me for sure. Even with protein powders, what I try to do is I try to get my protein intake in by food, so through nutrition. And if I need a little boost, obviously I'll drink a protein cocktail or a protein drink, but that's not the first thing I resort to. Now let's take a deep breath while I have a water break. I don't know if you heard me swallow, but let's keep going. All right, 10. This is the thing I'm most passionate about nowadays, but the ultimate wellness goal is longevity. This was inspired by me reading Ikigai, which I love the book. I think it's so cool. It's amazing. But truthfully, the goal of any healthy person is to stay as healthy and happy for as long as they can. And longevity comes in a lot of forms. First of all, is getting good sleep. Right now, I'm getting like 8 to 8.5 hours because it is winter time, so I think I'm sleeping a lot more. Love it. I'm not waking up at like 5 a.m. anymore. I wake up at 6, 7.5, 7, which has been so nice. Such a nice change of pace. Secondly is there's the 80% rule. You stop eating when you're 80% full, because also excessive digestion causes premature aging, according to the book. I have not tested this, so I cannot confirm scientifically, but that's also a factor. Having a community around you, which right now I really feel like I have and I've gained this year, with my boyfriend, with my family, I've gotten a little closer to it. With my friends, I have a bestie, which I love her so much. If you're listening to this, Perry, hi. She just showed me a tour around her campus, UCSD. She goes there. So cool. All right. So the ultimate goal is longevity. I recommend reading Ikigai if you want to get more information about that. There's also Outlive by Peter Attia, I think. I've never read that book, so I can't vouch for it, but I plan on doing that this year. Now, lesson 11 is the 80-20 rule. This lesson, this rule allows you to stay balanced, because 80% of the time, for example, if we're speaking about wellness, so let's talk about nutrition. 80% of the time you eat clean according to your goals, and then 20% is the space that you give yourself to have, I don't want to say cheat meals, but like food that may not be the healthiest and bestest for you. 80-20. How and why that works is same with workouts, for example. I work out every day pretty much, unless when life gets busy, which life gets busy a lot nowadays. So I follow the 80-20. I work out 80% of the time, with, for example, productivity too. During the day, I'm productive 80% of the time if you take the sleep away, and 20% of the time I allocate to hobbies, to spending time with people I love, to hanging out, to doing nothing, to chilling, to reading. 80-20. 10 out of 10 works. Implement it and try it. 12, lesson 12, is that wellness is the sexiest lifestyle, and I stand by that. I love it. I love it. Kids my age, and kids is, I'm not a kid, but people my age are out there drinking, partying every day. I don't know, coming home at like 4 a.m. There was an era where I woke up at 4 a.m., so that says a lot about me. But I truthfully believe that leading a wellness lifestyle, no matter what age you are, is the sexiest thing that you can do for yourself. Because not only are you taking care of yourself and your body, which is your greatest vessel, yeah, you're taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, in all the levels, but also you are setting yourself up for success for the future. And something I think about people who don't take care of themselves, who eat like crap every single day, who don't sleep enough, who take a bunch of mind-altering substances, which personally I have never partaken in, and I just don't plan on doing so. Is right now, sure, it's all fun and games because you're young and your body can kind of process that a lot faster. But what happens when you are 80? What happens when you are that grandma and everything hurts because you just weren't taking proper care of yourself? When you have horrific back pain because you never exercised a day in your life, or maybe you did it with wrong form because you didn't do your research. That's what I think about. I think wellness is the sexiest lifestyle, and I'll probably stand by this unless I get a lobotomy or something and I just have mind-altering discoveries. I don't know, but that's what I believe. Okay, so then let's move on to the third quadrant. Let's do this as a graph. Third quadrant, relationships. This was a big sphere of my life, especially getting into a romantic relationship, which I had made a whole podcast episode about this, and I think my views have definitely changed because I was like, well, you're only in relationships to grow, which, yeah, I agree. I think self-growth is incredibly important, but I would definitely change my answer why you're in a relationship. And I think you get into a romantic relationship to just increase your happiness. Mic drop. That's what I think now, at least. Because truthfully, being with my boyfriend, my current one, it's made me so happy, but also made me grow a lot. But that came as a byproduct of the happiness. So, first rule is lessons 13. Let's take another water break before I give out my favorite number. Lesson 13 is that communication is a buildable skill. And this skill, having learned it, will serve you wonders in your lifetime. I'm not sure if anyone ever starts out good at communication. Personally, before getting into a serious relationship that I'm in now, and serious, I don't know, I just like calling it that, but I was horrible at communication, truthfully. When I feel anything, it's really hard for me to communicate, and it always feels embarrassing and shameful. I'm like, well, I'll just work it out and then I'll talk about it later. But truthfully, once I started building that skill and committing to building that skill, I think my whole life changed because I'm just so much more clear and concise now. And I also know how to work through my feelings and emotions because I'm a chronic overthinker, and learning to communicate effectively has definitely helped. So here's some tools that I love personally. Alexandra, she was on the previous podcast episode. She is a relationship coach, so she'll tell you a lot more about these. But first that I love is a communication sandwich, and I actually learned it from her. She had a training where she talked about that. So communication sandwich is, for example, say you are my partner, or maybe your friend, or maybe you're a coworker, and there's a piece of criticism that I want to give you. Instead of just being like, let's say you're my partner, makes it easier. Instead of being like, hey, Jeff, you don't take me out on dates enough. Instead of saying that, I'd be like, hey, Jeff, I've been really appreciating you sending me good morning and good night text lately. It's made me feel so cared for and so excited to see you. I would really appreciate if we also went out once a week instead of staying in. That would additionally contribute to my feelings of feeling appreciated, but that would also add a lot of excitement into my life. I also really love how attentive you are to my needs and to my wants and to my wishes. I love having you as my partner. Do you see that? You start up with a positive, you mix in your actual thing that you want to say, you end with a positive. This applies to anything, by the way. And another thing is using I statements. Notice how in that sentence, instead of being like, you suck, you don't take me out enough, it was like, I would appreciate this. Because truthfully, nobody can argue with your feelings, right? So I statements, they release a lot of tension in communication, and they just make the whole process easier. 14, we don't have time, we make time. This year, I was seeing this guy, and not my current boyfriend, obviously, but it was this guy. He was an aerospace engineer, German aerospace engineer. immigrant. Shocker. My type. It's really funny because my current boyfriend, he has nothing to do with any of those things. He's an engineer, just not an aerospace one, and he's not German. He's actually American, which is crazy. I never thought I would date an American ever. He's a software engineer, for all those of you wondering. So, really smart guy. Love him. But the German aerospace engineers were truly an era. Anyway, with him, what was really funny, and I'm about to expose myself, is I thought he was really great. Like, honestly, I thought we would date. I don't know if I if I said this in my previous podcast, but like I thought he was the one, for this time period. Obviously that did not work out. And what would happen is we'd hang out like once a week or so, because obviously he had a very busy life. He went to he's still, I don't know, I think he's getting his master's still. Wait, actually it's December, huh? He's ending his master's program. I don't know how I remember that, but it's in my mind. Anyway, he goes to a very prominent school. And so he was like in some sort of aerospace rocket lab. I don't know. They were building like stuff from launching rockets and what typical aerospace engineers do. And he would take 14 hours to get back to me, like to reply to a simple text of like, how's your day been? 14 hours. So my morning routine was I'd wake up at like 5 at the time. And the first thing I would do is check my phone for 5 a.m. because he would send a text like 3 a.m. of like, went good, worked on rockets, And at 5 a.m. I'd be like, oh my gosh, he like texted me. I'd reply back immediately because I'd wake up at 5 a.m. and he'd go to bed at 3 a.m. And then I'd get another text 24 hours from now. So, so I guess it wasn't 14 hours. I guess it was 24. Anyway, so that taught me a very valuable lesson of we don't have time, we make time. If something is truly a priority in your life, you'll make time for it. And if something's not a priority, then you won't make time for it. That's just how it works. Nobody has time. Everybody's busy, especially if you're young. We all have commitments. We have this, we have that, we have goals. So if someone's making time for you, they appreciate you, and let's honor that. Now, another lesson that I learned, 15, is focus on yourself to make your relationships thrive. This goes especially with romantic relationships. Once you realize your worth and your value, you're unstoppable, and you truly attract the kind of partner that you desire. With my current boyfriend, I did not think I was going to date anyone until 5 years from now. Really. Sounds crazy, I know. Because obviously, like, I'm smart, I'm hot, I'm successful, I'm funny. I'm just kidding. No, but really, I did not think until I started focusing on my inner worth and my value. What value, not the value that I brought to the table, but just valuing myself as a person and investing time into myself and investing time into reaching my goals. And this goes the same for being in a relationship or being in a friendship. Because for me, for example, our relationship really started thriving. I mean, it's always been thriving, to be completely honest with you, but really started thriving very much recently when I really figured out how to stop my mental spinouts, because as a chronic overthinker, this mind is very powerful. And when I have a negative thought, it's really hard to stop it because it starts spiraling. Now I have a specific method for coping with that, for managing that. And it's amazing now because now I just let things go. I don't take it so personally, I don't get offended as much. Granted, I still have room to grow in that one, but once I started focusing on myself, that's when everything else began thriving. Now, lesson 16 in relationships is what triggers you in other people is what you dislike within yourself. Because if you didn't dislike that within yourself, it wouldn't trigger you. It's pretty simple, truthfully. If you're sitting at a restaurant and say there's a really loud person right next to you, it's probably really annoying, huh? And something can be annoying without triggering you, but if that person really starts bothering you, like, oh my gosh, like that's so annoying, blah, 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 there's something within yourself that you're repressing. And this sounds maybe very pseudo-therapeutic, but truthfully, I found that to be the case. So when anyone has an effect on me, especially a negative one, I always think, what is it within myself that I'm rejecting and or disliking to figure that out? Lesson 17 is a consciously small circle is much better than a dozen mindless friends. I stand by that statement. I stand by it, truthfully. My family are my best friends. Love them. Love them to death, truthfully. And I could have a dozen friends, but it would be pretty meaningless. Versus my family are people I can trust with my life. And also, like, I have friends outside of my family also that are very close to me. The people that I trust with my life. And I feel like they enrich you so much more versus having a certain number of friends, because what they say about the 5 people around you are a reflection of you. If you want to see where you're going to be in 5 years, look at your friends and look at their trajectory. 100% true. Look at the people around me, so successful, so hardworking, and I feel like that's partially why I'm the same. Now, we're moving on to lesson 18. And this is love your loved ones in their love language. This also talks a lot about ego And I feel like managing ego in relationships is a very hard thing. Like, for example, if something happens and maybe the person that you want to communicate something to is just not in the best headspace, it's obviously best to wait and to communicate that a little bit later, but ego might get in the way and you might be like, well, I have to get it off my chest now, which no, truthfully, you don't. So I feel like ego is the enemy is also a great lesson. I'm not including it here because I feel like it's a subsector and I like structural things. I feel like my brain works in a very structural way, which is partially why I love social media coaching so much. To me, social media is a science. But with loving people in their love languages, for example, if you hate birthdays, but say your friend loves birthdays, then really focus on her birthday when time comes around because she loves it. And if you love the person, you're willing to make compromises and emphasize what's important to that person. So loving people in their love language is very important. There's a whole book about it. There's also a quiz you can take. For me, my top love language is probably quality time. In romantic relationships, the top one would probably be physical touch, and quality time. They like go hand in hand. In friendships, quality time, and then obviously everything else. But if you know something is important to a person that you love, focus on that, even though that may not be important to you, but not everybody is you. In fact, nobody is you. So that's a thesis. Before we go on to self-development, to that quarter, let me take a sip because, man, is my throat running dry. Whew. Alrighty, now we're moving to the fourth quadrant of this podcast episode, and that is self-development. So lesson 19 that I learned is that your hobbies give you energy. Yesterday, actually, I watched a video of this one professional skier who's also a full-time fashion model, who's also a full-time Stanford student, which is crazy. My gosh, I don't remember her name, but I think she's insane. And she said that the lesson that she learned in doing so many things at kind of the same time is that one activity gives you a rest from the other. And that's something I started implementing into my life as well. You do not have to rest by scrolling on your phone because truthfully, that's not even restful. If you have a hobby such as painting, drawing, piano, singing, lean into that instead. That just feels so much more restful. Trust me on that one. Lesson 20, mindless scrolling is killing your success. For me, it's my job. All right, not mindless scrolling, but social media. So it's very easy to make the argument of like, oh, well, being on TikTok for 4 hours a day is my job. But December 7th, I remember I looked at my screen time and it said 4 hours for that Thursday. And I went, nope, never again. So now my TikTok usage has been under 10 minutes each day because I noticed that when scrolling so much, your attention span gets super short. Your brain is full of junk and gunk and stupid, irrelevant thoughts because it's short form content that does not serve you. Thus, that kills your success because you have no attention span, so you can't really focus. Your brain does not have any useful information in it, and there's such an overload of everything that it just feels like you can't keep a single thought in your noggin, you know? So I stopped mindless scrolling. I started reading instead. I try to let myself be bored, right? So if I'm standing in line, I'm not going to go check my phone or go on TikTok. I'm just going to stand in line, just see what is around me, chill out. If I really want noise, I put in AD audios, and I have sound isolating headphones that I got for myself as a present, actually, this year, which I love. They're my favorite ever. Pretty pricey, but love them. Live, laugh, love, my headphones. And AD audios seem to work really well. All right, 21st lesson is that maintain your skills so you don't lose them. For me, for example, skills that are super challenging to maintain currently are piano and singing. I do not really practice singing anymore, to be completely honest with you. With piano, I have lessons every week, and primarily that's when I practice, which is horrible. And it's very easy for me to quit now and just be like, like I'm just really not focusing on music, blah, blah. But I know that if I stop taking piano lessons, I'll just simply never play again. I just know that about myself because life's going to get busy and I'm not going to focus on that anymore and blah, blah. But I invested so much of my time in the past to get good at playing piano and to get good at music that completely letting go is just really going to suck. So whatever skill that you have, as hard as it is to make time for it, and as a fellow busy girl, I understand you, keep it, maintain it, put in as much as you can. Maybe that's 1 hour a month, doesn't matter, but put that time in because it's much easier to kind of get back to where you were versus starting from zero, which is going to happen if you quit. Lesson 22 is treat yourself like you would treat your best friend. I think about that all the time, especially when I'm getting very much negative on myself. I'm like, well, if my best friend came to me with this, would I have the same reaction? The answer is always no, right? So then that snaps me back in reality real quick. Because instead of being your worst enemy or your biggest critic, be your best friend. And that's going to change everything. Finally, lesson 23, and I talked about it before, but I really want to make sure it solidifies, is that fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. The things that you're scared of aren't that big, and the only way to find out is just to step into them. I plan on doing a lot of things that are going to be challenging this year, which I'm really excited for. I'll update you in a year. But I just know they're going to take me to the next level. Nothing grows in your comfort zone because your comfort zone is something that you know. So where you feel the most resistance, but in your heart you feel like that's something that you want to do, that's it's going to help you grow the most. So those are my 23 lessons. Comment which one resonated with you the most out of those 23, but also comment what you learned, top one thing in 2023. And now let's get to my practice. This practice has absolutely changed my life. And it is, I call it the unrecognizable practice. Truthfully, it's a visualization meditation. What you're going to do is you're going to be playing Awaken by Big Wild. I repeat, Awaken by Big Wild. It's a song. Play that. It's around 3 minutes. Close your eyes, take deep breaths in. Make sure that you're in a calm and sound headspace. And as you're playing that song, visualize your absolute dream life vividly. And instead of just visualizing, also make sure that you are focusing on how it's going to make you feel. How achieving all your goals is going to make you feel. I do that after my workouts when I have a really good endorphin boost because I feel like it just helps and makes the process so much better. But try that out for a day, for actually not a day, a month, preferably a year, and get back to me because absolutely life changing. Not only does it work very well for your brain because your brain doesn't know the difference between visualization versus reality, but also secondly, it leaves you so inspired and so motivated and you just get so much of the meaningful work done, which like we talked about, it's truly value versus volume. And now moving on to my 2024 goals, I think it's going to be really cool to check in with myself, which is why I'm leaving this here. First, priority. I would definitely say build out my coaching product suite. Obviously, I currently have mentorship and creator camp, but I'm working on some digital products that you also have them. And I really want to do like a Black Friday holiday sale. So in about a year, which I'm really excited for, truthfully. I'm just so much waiting for that and I'm really excited. Second is to move into a different space and get a new car. I actually want to move out of the space I'm in and get a new car. Just because I feel like it's time and I want to focus on kind of expanding this year. So definitely something a little bit nicer, which is really cool, really exciting. 3 is to host a creator retreat. This is something I'm really nervous about, like an in-person creator retreat, preferably during the summer, but I think it's going to be really cool. And it's really funny because one of my 8 goals for this year, and actually I have a lot more goals, but these are the ones I'm really focusing on, was to go to a 3-day wellness retreat. And I last minute got invited to one. And I'm actually leaving for it tomorrow. So that's a teaser. So when you're listening, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, December 20th, I'm in Joshua Tree on a wellness retreat, which I got randomly invited on, and I'm like excited. I don't know, so last minute, but it's crazy because I just wrote down as one of my goals and it got accomplished. And that's the power of visualization meditation. Try my practice and you'll become unrecognizable. 4th is to release songs. I actually plan on releasing 1 song per quarter, so every 3 months. I don't know how plausible it is, but I definitely want to release my 2nd song and like film a music video for it and create content for it because I feel like it's like so challenging for me, but I'm really excited for that. 5th is to record a podcast in the Spotify studios. I actually want to chart on Spotify top 10. Yeah. And hopefully really upgrade my podcast once it has enough listeners and have like good gear and, because I feel like podcasting is really my thing. It comes the most naturally to me. I don't know. I just feel like it's so easy and I love talking and I love talking with guests as well and having those conversations. 6 is to create a lean and strong body. Like I said, I want to become more toned and lean and strong. And 7th is obviously for our Gen V community to grow. I'm going to say this, and maybe it's going to be crazy, but I would love to have 1 million members of our Gen V community in 2024. Right now I'm at 111,000 followers. I think it'd be really sick to get to 1 million. I haven't really solidified that goal yet. Like I haven't written it out, so I'm not sure if it's going to happen for sure because I think goal setting is very important. But yeah, currently 111,000. Maybe we'll get to 1 million this year. That'd be insane. Imagine me clipping that. But for sure, growth is one of my goals. We'll see how it goes. All right, so that is the end of this podcast episode. Make sure you're following me. Give this podcast a rating of 5 stars. Tune in next Wednesday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And once again, comment the biggest lesson that you learned in 2023. Bye.
3, 2, 1. Launch to success with Vera V.